Welcome to SkyeTeam's People First with Morag Barrett.
Welcome to this week's episode of People First. And my guest this week is the fabulous Caroline Stokes, who supports technology leaders to solve relational and strategic challenges for organizational, societal, and environmental impact. She is the author of Elephants Before Unicorns, published by Entrepreneur Press, which, look at that, I didn't have stickies, Caroline, so it's a little dog-eared because I was folding things down and writing in the margins.
Yeah.
So Elephants Before Unicorns, which we will be talking about in this conversation. She is also a contributor to Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, Entrepreneur, TEDx, and VentureBeat, in which she regularly shares her expertise on leadership development amongst fast-paced advancements in technology, human performance at work, and product lifestyle within the environment. So, Caroline, welcome to People First.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to chat with you.
I am so looking forward to it. And as everybody knows, we have a bit of a unicorn thing going on here at SkyeTeam, which was another reason why this book jumped out at me. But before we dive into that, Elephants Before Unicorns, tell me your origin story, my friend. So when you were a wee girl, you're at primary school, and the teacher says, Caroline, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
Oh, that's always the great question, because when you're 52, you kind of forget what you were doing at primary school.
But at that time, what I was doing this morning, let alone primary school.
I know, right? My primary school was in Singapore, so I was growing up there for the first few years, and at that time, travel was on my agenda. At that time, we were in the 70s, where you could basically do anything that you wanted to do. Margaret Thatcher was going into power, so it was women power, blah, blah, blah. I know people don't have a great perspective about that person in power, but it really was a case of growing up and knowing that I could be anything that I wanted to be. And I was living in a society in Singapore where it was 100% safe. I was able to walk around anywhere, do anything all by myself, walk around for hours on end, play with people, do anything, jump in the back of a tuk-tuk with a complete stranger in Thailand. And I did anything that I wanted to do, and I was fearless about it. So when asked that kind of question, it was really a case of I wanted to travel. I wanted to be a traveler. And at that time, and it sounds very sexist now, I wanted to be an air stewardess because I wanted to travel the world. That's all I wanted to do.
Well, there you go. You and I are similar, because I wanted to be a long distance lorry driver, truck driver, because I thought I would get to see the world from the cab. Yeah, whoop, whoop. I don't think they go whoop, whoop, but I will go whoop, whoop. And I think I would have had a purple sparkly cab. So whether it's an air stewardess or steward helping you see the world. So what's the most exotic place you've been to? Because for me, Singapore feels like that would be exotic for me in terms of I've not been there yet. It's a long way away. So what's still on your exotic destination list?
Well, I'm going to Bali this Christmas, so I'm excited about that. Yes, very excited. Iceland to me is exotic, and I'm trying to manifest a visit to Iceland. I'll be honest. I need to do South America. I have not done South America. I feel that is an area, or it's a huge piece of land with so many different cultures, and I'm very curious to go there. There's an event that I might be attending next year, if it's going to be happening in Brazil next year. And I'd really like to get a sense of what it's like, what it's about, what the people are dealing with, what they enjoy, how they, enjoy life, really. Because in every single culture, if you go to the blue zones in various parts of the world, they have a real appreciation towards, balance, not taking life too seriously, being able to focus on the community, family, all of that kind of stuff. And I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, where you'd think that it's like that, but really it's an extension of Seattle, where people are very busy doing their busy work and living their very busy lives, achieving everything that they need to achieve without actually taking a moment to stop and think and smell the roses and really have those deep conversations that are really important to help you identify where you are as a human being and how you interrelate with other human beings and how you can actually create the best possible product or service or whatever it is that's going on. So I think that is most interesting to me from an exotic perspective. And I think exotic, what I'm just realizing while I'm speaking, exotic to me is understanding how uh, old civilizations that aren't capitalist civilizations actually have very meaningful and happy lives, and they're able to do that without taking too much from the earth, doing it in a really sustainable way. I think that's that I think is my exotic adventure.
Well, maybe we should try and scheme and go to Brazil together, for I have never been to Brazil, but I have spent time in both Chile and Peru working with gold mining clients. So again, getting to see a part of the country that wouldn't necessarily be on the tourist beat. But I also spent a week in the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on earth, but arriving in the middle of a freak thunderstorm and flooding. So that was an interesting experience too. That was a week's vacation with my eldest son. So more on that another time. We'll have to compare notes. But all right, let's switch to Elephants Before Unicorns. So I spent the weekend diving into the book and really enjoyed it. So let's just get past the first bit. Elephants Before Unicorns, or should it be Unicorns Before Elephants? Tell us about the title.
So I came upon the title when I was doing a presentation at World Bank in DC back in January 2019, and I was just getting the manuscript in with the publisher, and I was like, we've got all of these elephants in the room that nobody discusses. Nobody will have those honest and direct conversations. Why is it that we're not doing it? How are you supposed to get to that unicorn status from an organizational perspective? And how are you able to attract the kind of talent? And how are you able to grow your talent so they can become those unicorns? So that's how I came upon the title. We were sitting right opposite the gorgeous hotel, which is owned by Trump, in Washington, D.C., and really trying to understand the complexity of the environment that we were living or dining in, and the elephants in the room, and the people that I was with, that I was having dinner with, helped me sculpt that title. So Elephants Before Unicorns, and then being able to approach those elephants in an emotionally intelligent way, because usually when we have issues with the systems and the dynamics and the paradigms, the systems that we're in within an organization, we're typically so scared, nervous to actually approach it, because it's, unless you are the boss of an organization where you can just flip tables and make things happen, you can ruin your brand, you can ruin your credibility, you can actually get fired over being a bit of a change maker within an organization, especially if they're not ready. So approaching it with an emotionally intelligent lens enables readers to understand that there can be another way to approach organizational and political dynamics within the environment of work.
So it's interesting because your book, the subtitle is Emotionally Intelligent HR Strategies to Save Your Company. And I want to be clear that the content here is powerful. It's not just for your HR practitioner. Right. It's for leaders across the organization. But the key lens by which you look at this is primarily that how do you attract and onboard talent in a way that makes them want to hang around? So in your work with technology organizations, et cetera, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing organizations and leaders make again and again when it comes to recruiting and onboarding talented employees?
Again and again and again. Unfortunately, when I coach people, they're able to sidestep and put my systems in place. So Michael Watkins, who is a phenomenal writer, he wrote First 90 Days. I talk about the first 100 days. But he wrote a book specifically about the first 90 days. And if organizations do not implement some kind of system, or if new employees do not implement a system of trying to identify how they need to adapt within the organization in the first 90 days, typically it will take 2 years. There'll be a 2-year process where they will they will come in and fail, and it will take 2 years for them to exit. So, when you see people that have been within an organization, there's usually 2-year jumps. It's because they haven't integrated well within the organization right from the get-go. And how you do that, I've got a different system to Michael Watkins. I'm not saying his is bad or anything. It's just we've got different approaches, because I've been coaching people once I placed them in my previous career, and knowing the beats of exactly how that works. Michael Watkins is a genius. But in this particular sense, he sat behind us at Thinkers 50 last year.
Yes, he did. I've worked with him in the past. I recommend first 90 days, irrespective of whether you're joining a new team or company. It's a new project. In fact, it's the next 90 days. The book works. Use it. But going back to what's different about yours, and I've been saying it forever, the things that used to drive me nuts when working with recruiters for myself or others is the ghosting that you get. The fill in the keyword online application, but now can you duplicate it and upload the resume? Can you now add also a cover letter that's never going to see the light of day, and all of these hoops? But everybody here, in my mind, arrives at a new job or a new team excited for day one. They are the unicorn, they're sparkly. And yet invariably will say, well, Caroline, you've been doing this a year or two. There's your desk, get on with it. Right. And then we wonder why. Well, she seems a little standoffish. Why isn't she integrating? And then it's like, well, because you never introduced me to anybody or told me who my key stakeholders is, and I'm still trying to fumble my way through it. And so this is important, and it's table stakes. And ironically, it's not that complicated. Tell me where I am in the process. Give me some feedback. Hold my hand, even though I'm a 56-year-old woman, on my first day at a new job. Because let's face it, we all have an inner 5-year-old that is worried about rejection.
100%.
So back to you. I mean, when you look at the impact that Elephants Before Unicorns has had for your clients that you're coaching and work with, what has been one of those trusted techniques where they go, oh, wow, a disproportionate positive impact for their onboarding experience and reputation in the marketplace?
Yeah, the transformational aspect of it is when, and I had a client do it just last week. I said, I brought up the conversation as soon as I heard from him that he's got a new hire joining. I said, okay, how are you managing their first 90 days or 100 days? And he started talking about it. And then he showed me, because he has my book, he showed me the person's plan for the first 30, 60, 90 days. And I said, fantastic. Okay, and what's the rest of your team's plan for the first 30, 60, 90 days? So it's all integrated. And then after that, how are you ensuring that you're managing your stakeholders so they understand what those 30, 60, 90-day plan is as well? So you need to have that triple loop delivery, because otherwise you have this person in the silo, they're not feeling like they're able to make the impact that they need to make, and they start to lose that, as you said, the sparkle, the excitement of wanting to join and make an impact, and it erodes. It can erode very quickly. I mean, I think I wrote, well, it's not, I know I wrote about it in my book, where there were numerous occasions I joined, and for example, at Sony, I was on day 4 going, oh my gosh, I don't know how long I can be here. I ended up being there for 5 years, doing various things, and I really, loved it, and it was wonderful. But as far as I was concerned, I could see that it would be so difficult to get anything happening, because we were all heads down, focusing on whatever we needed to survive and focus on, and the actual integration and the teamwork to be able to collaborate to then innovate as a whole just wasn't there. So, I come in through this with, very, very battered and bruised, which was why I felt really compelled during my career and evolution as an executive coach to be able to put a framework in place that could be used by basically any hiring manager and any new employee.
I love it. I mean, even in here, it's so pragmatic. And you talk here, you just gave a great example of breaking the busyness addiction. And I think we're all, I know I am, and it's that success is a false summit. So success is I've landed the job, but now what do I do? And it's hit the ground running so I can prove to my new boss why they hired me. Or the new boss gets sucked into busyness of, oh, I'd love to onboard you, Caroline, but I've been pulled into this meeting. I'll see you next week. Have fun for the next 5 days. So how do we break that busyness cycle so that we can be mindful about helping to onboard those valuable new team members?
Yeah, everybody I think needs to embrace the listening tour for new hires, where everybody needs to be in a room for at least half an hour, if not an hour, hour and a half, with each new employee explaining what their, some people hate this phrase, pain points, what their ambitions are, what their goals are, what challenges they face. So the new hire actually understands the framework or the challenges and difficulties. That requires so much. It requires a lot of vulnerability and being at peace with knowing that you're not going to be you're not going to look your best, because with every single organization, even if it were 20 years ago, there are no frameworks for how to build a product in the next 60, 120 days. The landscape of the world, all of the externalities are changing on a constant basis, so you need to bring the collective mindset and brain trust together to be able to make that happen. So I recommend for any new hire, and indeed once that new hire is in, even if they've been there for 2 years, that and they've become an established leader within the organization and they've created their wins and people love them, you still have to do that listening tour. And I often say to executives and leaders within an organization, after they've been there for a year or 2 years, you need another 360. You need to do a listening tour. You need to understand exactly what's going on. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, we did a 360. It was about 9 months ago. I'm hesitating because I can't remember if it was 6 months or 9 months ago. We're doing it again to completely different topics now, based on the way that they have shifted. And too often we think, oh, we've had a 360 now, we know what we need to do. But the problem is that we adapt. Not the problem. The good news is we adapt. We're adaptable human beings. And when we adapt, something else changes that we're actually unable to see at that particular time. So since doing a 360 with my current client and seeing actually he's shifted into a different spectrum and he needs to address that now, to be able to ensure that he's able to evolve his career, he's able to evolve in terms of being able to develop trust to deliver what he needs to be able to deliver for the organization so the organization can be successful. You need to have that cadence of self-learning and self-discovery so you're able to move forward.
I love that. It's that systemic approach because we all like to believe we're an above average driver. The 360 allows us to see where we might be scaring our passengers or perhaps leaving them on the curb and forgetting to even invite them into the car. But as circumstances change, and it's not just us growing, it's the organization growing, but also the industry that we're in, the technology that we're using, the expectations of the customers, all of that has a bearing. And if we aren't building in those learning processes, then we can get stuck. We can get typecast. And before you know it, known as an elephant instead of a unicorn.
100%. So well said.
It's because I read it in a really good book called Elephants Before Unicorns.
You're so kind. You're so kind.
So what's catching your attention right now, Caroline, in terms of, we talked here about keeping that learning journey going for new hires, etc. But you and I, we're perennial new hires in our own businesses and with each client that we are coaching or each team that we're working with. So what's top of mind for you to continue to test and grow in?
Yeah, I am. So I did a MIT's business sustainability course a couple of years ago, and I recommend every CEO on the planet and senior leader on the planet does that course, because once you realize the fragility of the world, and by this moment in time, people are probably tuning out. But we need to create systems within the organization and to create products and services that actually can support the environment and the ecosystem. And that doesn't mean, changing from being a mobile game company to ensuring that You're creating mobile games that are only environmentally friendly, where you're teaching people about the environment. That's not the point. It's really understanding all of the different interconnected systems within environmental, societal, and the governance to ensure that we're able to create more harmonious environments for people, product, and planet. And it's a really long journey, and the gap that the majority of us have is giant. It's the size of the Suez Canal. And each of us need to be able to move closer towards that. So what's catching my attention right now is climate change and the sustainability environment, and coaching people that are able to, identify that or get involved in that. And the majority, quite frankly, of my clients are in the startup phase, where they're looking to be acquired or to raise funding. They're not thinking about those things at all. However, as a coach, I'm able to kind of go underneath to help them see a bigger picture. And I think every coach, that's what every coach does in a way, so they can see what kind of impact they're going to make beyond, oh, we have to make our quarterly targets, or beyond, oh, I need to ensure that I can feed my family. So they're able to see the entire system. The other aspect that's really important, as far as I'm concerned, and I had this is a bit of a big aha, and I'm making a statement which is actually a little bit scary. But I just got back from Camp Navarro for a course not a course, it was a conference, and it was one of these underground conferences that nobody will ever hear of. CEO of Blue Sky was there. She's the person that is running or leading, I should say, the new era of social media. The spin-off from Elon Musk taking over Twitter, and all of these people in the agricultural tech environment, climate awareness, how we're going to be able to preserve the world moving forward. It's everything from tech, energy, online services, ensuring that our information is protected and preserved and not used for, by bad actors, that kind of thing. So what I'm about to say that's quite scary is that there was a giant realization that food security is a major issue. When I heard that each of our cities has, or villages or towns may produce only less than 10% of the food that we need, and we need to have 90% of it imported. With climate change happening, we've got some really significant issues to be able to handle, and it's only a matter of time before this kind of existential challenge is going to be faced, just like COVID was with us. How this is going to impact us in the future. When you think about not BC Hydro, but hydro. Energy and what have you, and we've got major droughts happening around the world, and the migration happening pretty much everywhere, because the places are not able to house those people safely due to genocide or whatever's happening in the world, political landscapes, geopolitics. Our world is changing so significantly that our products, and I'm not talking about entertainment products, I'm talking about our products in general, need to be aware and cognizant of these challenges, so we're able to support our clients, our customers, and all of these situations that happen. So that's what's really catching my attention, because in 10 years' time, as leaders, as coaches, as employees, as human beings on the planet, we've got some serious things that we're going to be grappling with. We're like the boiling frog right now. We're in it. It's pretty warm in there, and it's going to get pretty boiling in the next 5 to 10 years. So how we can all work together as a global community and as a local community to ensure that we're able to survive, thrive, do business, make sure that we're able to be productive and satisfied is of great interest to me right now.
Yeah, is that short term versus long term? The what can I control? Oh, that's too complicated to solve for. That's outside of my pay grade. I assume somebody else is thinking about it. Absolutely. All of that allows us individually and collectively to look at it tomorrow when things are quieter. But when you talk about a 5 to 10 year time horizon, and when we listen to people like Martin Lindstrom give his presentations about the impact of technology and so on. Even that feels optimistically a long way out, and yet it is also the day after tomorrow.
It's the day after tomorrow. It 100%.
It's the day
and we need to be
tomorrow.
Dealing with it now. It's that whole, lovely imagery of, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next time to plant a tree is right
today.
now. It's a today type of thing, and unfortunately, it's overwhelming. The data out there is overwhelming. So this is why I recommend even the MIT's course. They actually tell you in the very first week, they explain to you what we're about to share with you is deeply depressing and distressing. You just have to white knuckle this first week to understand what's going on in the world, so you're able to then just to have that reality thrown at you, so that which TikTok and Facebook but basically the majority of what we consume distract us from us, because we enjoy our nice dopamine. We want to stay away from being fearful and out, losing control and being disgusted by something. That actually understanding that and deciding to be a part of the solution is actually incredibly empowering. So the 6-week course with MIT's business sustainability course was an absolute game changer for me. And I was doing this kind of thing back in the 90s anyway, but it's kind of just come full circle. So if you ask me when I was 18, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, well, make the world a better place. Whereas really I just wanted to be an air stewardess when I was a kid.
Well, the better place is available to you at the back. There are 2 exits in order to help you get there. I still think it's a very noble thing, and for us all to be thinking about how can I leave even my tiny little bit of the world in a slightly better place, even if that means making the bed in the morning. That's a good start. But thinking about what we're consuming and how we are interacting with each other, which goes back to in your bio, you talked about the relational and strategic challenges come together in this perfect storm that none of us are going to be able to avoid. And so it behooves us all to be part of how do we solve for this together. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the leaders that you're partnering with today, and how can the listeners and watchers of this episode learn more?
Thank you. I've actually got a couple of projects in the pipeline for my second book, and which I can't really talk about right now because I've got notes and notes and notes, and it hasn't been solidified yet. But I've got book 2 happening, and I'm looking forward to getting that out there. And what I want to do is not have a publisher for it. What I want to do is just get it out on Kindle, have a low carbon footprint, no paperwork, no airmail or anything like that, just digital downloads and probably an audiobook. But that's going to be focusing on really on the topic that I just touched on. Also, I'm working with an alliance to create a system that can be incorporated by every single coach on the planet to do something there, which I can probably announce in a couple of months. So there's a lot of things happening, but in the meantime, I work with a lot of leaders, either in, for example, some of my favorites, the leaders that I've worked with are in space agriculture, or they're in data analytics, or they're in product systems and development and what have you, that are completely transferable across every single industry imaginable. I work with CEOs and basically anyone that wants to ensure that they're able to move their organization forward in the right way, obviously understanding that they need to work in a way that ensures that they are not killing their human being employees at the same time, while also being cognizant of the technology changes that need to happen. So that's kind of what I do.
You make it sound so simple. So where can people go to learn more? There's obviously, we can find you on LinkedIn. I'll make sure that that's put into the show notes. Where else can people go and do a little bit of appropriate cyber stalking to learn more?
Yeah, there's lots of cyber stalking. So they can go to LinkedIn, just LinkedIn at Caroline Stokes. I'm on Twitter or X at Caroline Stokes. I'm soon going to be on Blue Sky, probably at Caroline Stokes. My website is www.theforward.co, and anybody can email me at caroline@theforward.co.
Well, Caroline, this was a whirlwind introduction to you. I look forward to, at some point, our joint trip to South America together.
Let's make
But in
it
the
so.
meantime, thank you for sharing some of your insights and experience. And, of course, your first book, soon to have its cousin, its twin, but Elephants Before Unicorns. I recommend it to all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining Morag today. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you learned something worth sharing, share it. Cultivate your relationships today when you don't need anything before you need something. Be sure to follow SkyeTeam and Morag on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you have any ideas about topics we should tackle, interviews we should do, or if you yourself would like to be on the show, drop us a line at info@skyeteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again for joining us today, and remember, business is personal and relationships matter. We are your allies.